This week, the vampire. We will be going over 4 videos in tonight's show that are said to be proof of vampires. We will show each clip a few times as we go over them. But first, let's dig into some of the history of vampires. Vampires are said to be mythological beings or creatures that roams the world in the night, searching for people to which they feed upon. After draining their victims of their blood and life force, vampires may be the most well-known of the classic monsters. When thinking of vampires, I can say that Count Dracula stands out throughout the world. Most people associate the name of Dracula with vampires. Ever since Bram Stoker's legendary epic novel was published back in 1897, giving life to this fantasy figure over the years, Count Dracula has become a legendary blood-sucking vampire. Most people don't realize that vampires go way further back in history. In fact, it goes way back in history. In fact, vampires have been talked about throughout the world and every culture that I have came upon doing my research. They weren't called vampires back then, just mentioned in writings as a life and blood-sucking creature. So with myths, we find that there is some truth to them. So did vampires really roam the earth back in the time when we as humans first began to write? Now, when our ancestors wrote about these creatures, were they just making up stories to scare the kids? Or was there something to all the written stories? The vampire superstitions really thrived back in the Middle Ages, especially as the plague, or otherwise known as the Black Death, decimated entire towns and small villages. The disease left many dead. With the plague came bleeding mouth lesions on its victims, for which at the time most seen as vampirism. In those times it wasn't uncommon for anyone with a physical or emotional illness to be labeled a vampire. Nowadays with modern medicine, we see these diseases for what they are. But the people of the Middle Ages seen monsters and vampires. Take the disease porphyria. Porphyria is a blood disorder that can cause severe blistering on the skin when exposed to sunlight, a disease that may have been linked to the legend of the vampires. Some of the symptoms of porphyria can be temporarily relieved by ingesting blood. Wow. Now think, I'm going to go out on a limb right here now and say that porphyria could definitely be the cause of some vampire sightings. Now, when a suspected vampire died, their bodies would often be disinterred to search for signs of vampirism. In cases where they would find signs, then they would deal with them in one of two ways. A stake through the heart to make sure they stayed dead, or they would decapitate the corpses and then burn the rest of the body. This went on well into the 19th century. Now there is one case that might rival Count Dracula as the most notorious vampire. That's Mercy Brown. But unlike Count Dracula, Mercy Brown was a real person. She lived in Esther, Rhode Island, and was the daughter of George Brown, a farmer from the 1800s. George lost many family members, including Mercy. In the late 1800s, to tuberculosis. When his community used Mercy as a scapegoat to explain their deaths. It was common in those times to blame several deaths in one family on the undead. The bodies of each dead family member were often exhumed and searched for signs of vampirism. So when Mercy's body was exhumed and didn't display severe decay, the townspeople accused her of being a vampire and making her family sick from the grave. But for her body not to show much decay, there must have been a reason, right? Since her body was placed in a above ground vault during a New England winter, the body was frozen over the months and not decaying. The townspeople cut out her heart, burned it, and then fed the ashes to her sick brother. Perhaps not surprisingly, he died soon after. Because there is a long history of walking corpses and blood-sucking ghouls throughout the history of our folklore, it is difficult to pin down a set of criteria consistently attributed only to the vampires. One of the most central myths in vampire folklore is the consumption of human blood, followed by possession of sharp teeth or fangs. In most depictions, vampires are undead, meaning something has brought them back to life after death. While many are said to rise from their icy graves at night, it's said if they travel that they must take native soil with them and keep it in their coffins. Vampires are said to be of pale skin and range from being grotesque in form to being beautiful and irresistible, depending on the tale. Another frequently cited physical characteristic is the inability to cast a shadow or a reflection, and this seems to translate into an inability to be photographed or recorded on film. While doing my research, I found that there is ways of becoming a vampire. The most common way of becoming a vampire is just to be bitten by another vampire. That's not the only way I found in vampire folklore. It is said that a sorcerer or witch can transform you into a creature of the night. And there is a few more, but I think I'm going to skip them because someone might actually try them, and I don't want to see nobody get hurt out there or die. So we'll skip those. While vampires don't die of disease or other normal human afflictions, they're said to have faster than human healing as well. That doesn't mean that they are indestructible. There are many ways to dispatch a vampire. One of the most common ways is to use a stake through the heart. Then there is fire and the sunlight. And let's not forget about decapitation. This next video seems to show something eating or something. I'm not for sure what he's doing when the camera first picks him up. He is a strange one, that's for sure. This video has been going around now for some time, and it's been said to be a Wendigo, to a rake, and yes, even said to be proof of a walking dead vampire. So don't forget to leave a comment on this one, guys. So let's play it one more time and really take a good look at the creature. We do have what I think is the best two videos coming up soon. But first I would like to visit a story about the so-called Blood Countess, which could be the worst female serial killer of all time. That is, if the legends about her are true, and a killer she was. She is alleged to have killed between 80 to 650 people. This all got started over an accident with a chambermaid. The maid had gotten cut and some of her blood had gotten onto the hand of the countess. After wiping the blood off her hand, the countess noticed that it made her skin look younger. So with that, the killing began. She would send out for young women from all over the country, giving jobs to these women, but which came with a price. And what a price! Death. That was the price for most of the women. She would shower or bathe in their blood, thinking that this could keep her young forever. At least that's how the stories go. So was it 80 or 650 young women that failed to make it through her castle? We may never know for sure. And she's not the only vampire killer out there. I came across many names that has been linked to vampirism. Even in modern times, some people seem to crave the blood of others. Does this make them vampires? No. Sick? Maybe. Could they be something medical or mentally wrong with these so-called killers? Could be. Then again, could real vampires be walking among us today? I think anything can be possible in this world. The tales had to start somewhere in time, and it seems to have started as soon as humans began to write about their encounters. So with that said, let's move on over to those last two videos I promised you guys. So let's get right into them. Now this next video takes place in a shoe store, it looks like. It shows a very pale man walking in front of a set of mirrors as he's leaving the store. While he doesn't cast a reflection in the mirrors, however, he does seem to cast a shadow on the floor and upon the wall where the mirrors are. So does this truly show a vampire out looking for shoes? Or was he following the man out of the store that had just left? Maybe looking for a meal instead. I don't know. It looks real with the shadow going across the wall. But what about the reflection in the mirrors? Does it look like the people is still moving to you guys while he is passing them? Or is it fake somehow? Some people have said that the people in the background stop moving in the mirrors as the man passes. But do they, or does he pass fast enough to make you think they have? I don't know. So let me know down below in the comments what you guys think about this one. So let's take one more good look at this video. So one more time, guys. Now this next video is really spooky to me. It looks like a couple that might have just met somewhere, like a bar or out dancing or something, and decided to get to know each other a little better. So is this a video of a vampire, or could it be something else? Some thoughts come to mind while I'm watching this, like a succubus or even a demon of some kind. I could see how this video has been compared to these creatures as well. I can say one thing after watching this one. I'm glad I am happily married. I don't have to worry about things like this anymore. So to all you singles out there, be safe. So I say let's take one more good pass at this one and watch it one more time. So don't forget to subscribe down below, guys, and leave a comment on this one as well. Till next time, stay safe and watch for those endless mysteries.